Pause Live, the UK's largest menopause event. Get solutions to your symptoms. Meet over 70 brands. And laugh out loud at our live stage. Plus, free taster sessions in our wellness hub. Come and connect with your tribe. Tickets are from just $10.99. Get your sparkle back and head over to pauselive.com.
Stuart.
Hi.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, everyone.
I'm so glad that you're joining us because you're such an interesting, what's going to call it? I nearly said vibrational character. I didn't mean that. We've been given these, I just got to tell you first, we've been given these vibrators to try. And that's all that's on my mind at the moment. So I didn't mean by...
I'm sure my wife would like to try one of those.
I've been dying to meet you because Debbie's told me all about you, and you're a very intriguing character, aren't you?
Well, my company is. I'm not sure about me, but I have got this persona: the curator of Misty Moon, producer of Misty Moon, director of Misty Moon, and Misty Moon's a nostalgic trip down memory lane for people that remember brilliant television and brilliant films, and we make our own films now. And I met Debbie. I've known Debbie for a long time through the wonderful social media, Facebook. But Debbie was a guest at our Minder reunion at the Cinema Museum a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. It was great. It was fantastic fun. And I was so pleased to meet you. And I said, that's it. You're coming on Wonderbirds.
You did.
You cannot get away from me.
Lovely. I don't want to get away from you.
People don't. That's the thing.
People are trying. But the thing is, Stuart, I mean, tell us how it all started. I mean, I know I asked you when I met you how it all started, but you've had such an interesting background and how you actually came to be doing all these events.
So it started roughly about 15, 16 years ago. My wife was making, Mrs. Moon, Jen, she was making some jewellery, and she'd done a couple of craft fairs, but there weren't that many, and all the ones she went to were all just jewellery stalls. So we decided to do our own one at our local church hall, and we got lots of artists along and sculptors and that. And because that first craft fair was so successful, we were asked to do some more. And I remember coming out my mum's house one evening after Sunday dinner, and I said to Jen, we need a name for this if we're going to keep it going, something that's catchy. And we looked up and there was this Misty Moon. And I said, well, that's what we're going to call it. So after a year doing the craft fairs at the local church hall, I found a space behind a pub in Ladywell in southeast London in Lewisham. And we turned this space into a gallery, and we called it the Misty Moon Gallery. And we started to put on dark art. So not just, so we'd have mainstream art, but also people whose sculptures or paintings may not get seen in normal galleries. I always say it's nice to have a lovely bluebell field as long as you've got a decapitation or two in there. It's that type of thing. And then Adrian King was put in contact with me. So Adrian King's from Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, which was one of my favourite films. And Richard Kiel played Jaws in the Bond films. Again, the power of Facebook. Contacted me and said, I see what you're doing in London. You should get in contact with Adrian King. She started doing a lot of painting based on that film. So I just emailed her and she sent me over some prints of her artwork for one of our Halloween exhibitions. And because that went really well, the next thing I hear, I want to come over from Oregon and do a show with you with my paintings. I've never shown anything in London before. So she flew over in September. We'd never met her before. So it was all, crikey, what's going on? What she'd be like? And she stayed for a week. And we put him on in the gallery, and she said, you know what, it's so nice here. Let's see if anyone would be interested if we show Friday the 13th, because we could only hold 40 people seated in this place, and it was a bit like an old coaching house. So we just put it out, £5 a ticket, come and watch Friday the 13th with the original actress, sold out like that. And she put her name to it, co-founded it, and since then we've had everyone along.
Oh,
and that's how it started. It was mad. And now we're up in the West End. So we've gone from there. So this has taken 15 years, 16 year progression. And now we make our own horror films that have been shown in the West End as well, our short films. And Debbie would know this because she used to live quite close. 80% of Robertsbridge the houses are listed, or the cottages are listed. And when we bought this one, I bought it off a heritage architect. And when he moved in, he said it was how they used to do it in the 70s and 80s, just literally plasterboard everything. So all the beams were plasterboarded, the fireplace, how we called it fireplace. He took it back. He said it was like a layer of a wedding cake, taking it back piece by piece. So we got the original staircase is the 14th century staircase. It creaks, it moves and stuff. The only stairs that aren't are the bottom three that he had to replace, but the rest are the original. And I said to him just before we moved in, is it haunted? And he said, well, as long as you're good people, you'll be fine. I thought, well, that's good to know. And we have had a few things go on. Our cats have been a bit spooked, but they don't seem to mind it. And it's a nice feeling here. I mean, I've come down in the middle of the night to put our cats in the garden, and halfway down the staircase, I hear children giggling. And when I get to the bottom of the stairs, it stops. And then when we first moved in, I went and had a look in the attic. And then about a week after that, my wife found in that room, which is like her dressing room, where the attic hatch is, 3 or 4 of her clothes, her blouses have been ripped. Well, not ripped, I mean like slashed. Freddy Krueger's like slashed.
Oh.
And then that all stopped. That's all stopped now. But it was strange how it happened after I went up in the attic.
Yes. What do you think that was then, Stuart?
I don't know. I don't think there's anything. I don't know. I don't. No, none of my stuff was touched, thank God. But and she wasn't. But I've got an actress friend who came round to have a look at the place. We met for lunch at the George, and she came down. And I didn't know any of this, but she stood in our hallway, and it's only a tiny little hallway by the door, for half an hour, and she wouldn't move. And she said, you don't know this about me, but I am quite sensitive. I'm a medium to all of this thing. And she said, I couldn't live here. She said, it's very nice, but very, very busy. Nothing bad, but they're just coming at me all the time. And she said, it's just too busy. There's no way I could live here. But you're fine. I went, oh, great.
Oh, my God. Oh, I'd love to go there. I'd love to visit.
Well, come.
Well, the thing is, I think we're seeing you, aren't we, on the 2nd of July? We're all meeting, because we do want to go, because I used to go to school in Hawkhurst, which is just up the road from Robertsbridge. But we, unfortunately, it would take a whole day. So we decided, unbeknown to Stuart, that we will descend on you one day.
Oh, right. Okay.
All of us, but we haven't made a day. But we will see you in London before to have some chats about some of the projects that you did. Because, I mean, you know, Natalie was in all the costume dramas in the 80s and 90s, weren't you, darling?
I was in a lot. Constantly in corsets with ringlets. Appearing indoors saying, we must go, Papa, the train will leave without us.
And that's how you met your husband, Clive, wasn't it?
I did. I did the importance of being earnest. And and he was my Uncle Jack. So, yeah. But
he was also in Poldark.
The event, yes, he was in Poldark. I think they have sort of great big reunions for that.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
So what other events do you, what other things do you put on? Do you do things like Star Wars and all those sorts of things as well?
No, don't touch that. So we used to do a lot of work with Fenella Fielding. Lovely Fenella.
Did you? We were just talking about her the other day, Stuart. We were just talking that, I mean, you probably know this. When I I knew her when I was quite young, but she always used to wear the plasters, didn't she, on her forehead?
Yes.
But whenever we did gigs, we would find like eyelashes all on the floor where she used to have the long eyelashes. But we did over 100 gigs with her. They because she was bringing out her memoirs. So each Saturday at the Phoenix Arts Club, she would do a section or a chapter from there. So that was a while ago. And Dudley Sutton, bless them, they were both very close to us. And but they died within like 5 days of each other. But we do a lot of work with Robin Asquith. We've done over 120 shows with Robin now. And but we do the Bill reunions. We do lots of Bill reunions at the Cinema Museum, Minder, the Sweeney, and we've started next for our autumn season, we've got Tony Slattery's coming back to do a bit of improv. So we're changing slightly. Madeline Smith, we do a lot of work with her as well. And people just come down, listen to a Q&A or do a one-man show, and then they have a meet and greet after. And at the Phoenix, we've got a late license till 3 every morning. So it's like a party afterwards. It is a proper meet and greet. And the guests normally stay and party into the night.
Have you done Clockwork Orange?
No. And if we did, so things like that would be a great. We do those at the Cinema Museum. I mean, so the Cinema Museum is very much. If you've never been there, Debbie will tell you it's This place was opened in 1980, and it's been in the early 80s. And it's been run by volunteers, and it's an old Lambeth workhouse where Charlie Chaplin lived with his mum. And when any cinema or anything like that closed down, they got all the memorabilia, and it's got cameras in there, projectors, usherettes, uniforms, everything. So we put on our reunions there, like the Minder one, and someone come to me, a fan came to me and said, "Have you ever thought about doing Kroll?" Now, I've never seen Kroll. That was in 1983. So it was a British science fiction film, fantasy film. It had Francesca Annis in it, Lisette Anthony, and it came out about the same time as Return of the Jedi, which was the third Star Wars film. And I think it really lost its way. Over here, it didn't. It had a cult following, but in America, it didn't make it because of Return of the Jedi. So they do say if your film doesn't make it in America, it's not really made it anywhere, which is a bit sad. But we are putting that on in November, and I just put it out on my social media. So would anyone be interested if we did a screening of Kroll with some of the guests, with some of the actors? And it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe so many people are into it. So we're going to be doing that in November. But I'd love to do Clockwork Orange.
My husband was the lodger in Clockwork Orange.
Oh, right.
Clive Francis. When he comes home and he's with his mum and dad, the lodger's in his place. That was, yeah.
My wife watched it. We were in a pub in Tunbridge Wells, and for some reason they had it on the screen. This was a long time ago, and it just freaked her out. She just didn't like it at all.
I didn't like it either.
It's an odd film.
Wow. I thought it was really awful. It's
Malcolm McDowell.
Bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is. But again, it's got a cult following. It's got a cult following.
Of course it has. So have you ever worked with people like Wendy Craig? Because Wendy was 90 last week.
She was what?
Was 90 last week.
She?
Really?
Yeah.
I love butterflies.
Yeah.
I used to really enjoy butterflies.
She actually was a friend of my mum's, very close friend of my mum's. So I know her really well, but I don't think she's doing very much now, but she's an icon, isn't she?
But there's a lot of people in our industry that live down this way, live in Hastings, Robertsbridge, Bexhill, all along the south coast, St Leonard's, and we all just get together and plot. And my next film is a cross between. It's called Served. It's a cross between Murder on the Orient Express and The Stepford Wives, and it's we've got Mark Benton and Carolyn Pickles, so it's a two-hander.
Wow!
Yeah. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's a short film and it will do very well.
Excellent. So do you get funding for these films, or what? How do you do them? Do you fund them yourself?
No, so some of them we fund ourselves, other ones, so like the one that we've just done that's done very well, Paradolia, which had Diane Franklin from the Amityville Horror, Carolyn Pickles from Broadchurch, who's a good friend, Sandy Johnson from the original John Carpenter's Halloween, and Graham Cole from The Bill. It's quite an eclectic mix of people we had in it.
Wow.
But I was going to fund it, and then I thought, well, hang on, the fans, especially the American fans of Diane Franklin, Sandy Johnson, might want to be part of it. So we did a crowdfund, and we raised a lot of the money that way. And when we did our cast and crew screening at the Phoenix, a couple of the backers who live in the States, we didn't know about this, they just flew in for it and got to meet Diane, got to be part of it. And we had them on there as executive producers and stuff. If you use Kickstarter and say you want to raise 50,000, if you get your 50,000, then you get all the money. But if you raise 49,999, you don't get any of it. With Indiegogo, you get it all.
Yeah, that is the best one.
Whether you're only get half of it or whatever. Yeah. And the charges aren't that much either. But when you do a crowdfund, because I'm getting lots of people asking me to give them advice on how to raise money. And I always have to say, you've got to remember to put in the charges, what the bank may charge you, your PayPal may charge and that. But if you want 50,000, always add another 2,000 on top of it.
Yeah. Do you know, I was in a horror film called Murder Elite with Billy Whitelaw and Ali McGraw in the 80s, and I got murdered in the first 5 minutes. But I'm actually
I love Billy Whitelaw.
Yeah,
I'm on the video cover though, but I didn't say anything.
Oh, brilliant.
I just a lot. Yeah, just scream.
Well, I'm doing my first feature next year. I've just been offered it, and when I told Debbie about this, and I said the title. When I looked at it, I thought, "Oh, crikey, no, this isn't going to work." But when I read it, and then I realised too, because I cast as well, because I've got such a variety of friends that I know of actors and actresses who I could put in it. It's called Elvises versus Zombies. Please ignore the title. But it is very, very clever, and it's very poignant as well. It's about a group of middle-aged Elvis fanatics who every year go down to Folkestone for this convention, and they have to go off-grid because they get stuck on the motorway and they won't get there, and that's when they come across the zombies. But the zombies are only a small part of it, so it's a bit like
here we are. Here's your entire cast.
I love that.
Blondes.
Yeah, you know,
I'm casting now.
One of my favourite bits of television ever was the Only Fools and Horses, the Batman and Robin bit.
Yeah.
You know, sort of like, you know, so out of context and so completely ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my favourite Only Fools and Horses was Friday the 14th, which was based on Friday the 13th. And I think John Sullivan must have been a great fan of that film because it's even got the Monopoly board and so many homages to that film in it. And that was one of the first, I think it was the third series or something, but it's the best one.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
That.
With Grandad, and they go down to Boyce's fishing cottage or something in the middle of Somerset, and there's an escaped lunatic on the loose.
Oh, must watch that.
Yeah, must watch that.
I'm sure you'll see it on UK Gold. They're always being repeated on UK Gold.
What you've done is you've created such a niche, and it's so clever.
Robin Asquith's gigs sell out within 12 hours, and it's
put him back on the map. And what does Robin actually do on his gigs?
So when we first started, which was about 12 years ago, it used to be like an MC that you had, Debbie. So we'd have an MC and just a chat. And then he took me to one side and said, "Look, I think this works. I've got an idea. Let's see if you can book me into other things and with an MC and see if this works." So we took it on tour. We did the Camden Fringe Festival, and he had Darren Litton, who wrote Benidorm, and he was in Benidorm for a couple of episodes. He MC'd it, and then we've moved it on from there that he now does stand-up. So basically it's just him on stage, just talking about his life, his career, and everyone he's met, especially the people that are dead, because they can't say if it happened or not. And some of his stories, I've heard 5 or 6 versions of them, but it's all comes back to the same thing. So a lot of embellishment. And he's got on Twitter the Asquith Army. They all come along, and it's a really nice thing. And he's started to do things now. We do the Cults, which is him and George Layton, because they've been friends for 50, 60 years. And they just go on there and chat together, talking about their career, bickering and stuff. And we've done it with Steve Edge because they're good friends. And I think we're going to do one with him and Robin Ince, and also the Inside Number 9 boys have asked to do a show with us, which we're going to do next year with them after their stage play.
Amazing.
Very clever. We as Wonderbirds, we did a show in the West End. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
We did.
When was that?
It was in
2021.
2021, and we were. Which theatre did we go to, Dee?
The Duchess.
We were at the Duchess Theatre, and we had Gokwan, and we had all the guys we had the baddies from the soaps. Actually, that's not a bad idea for a sort of
Misty
thing.
Moon.
Yeah, with Misty Moon, with John Altman, Brian Capron, and who was the other one?
The one that did the cruise with you.
Oh yes, Connor McIntyre.
Connor McIntyre, yeah.
So, and it was, having all these evil killers from Coronation Street in EastEnders, and people just absolutely loved it. They really did.
And they were fighting as to who killed the most people.
Oh yes, they had a big row about who was the worst killer.
And who did? Who did?
Oh, in fact, I think it was
John Altman.
No, I think it was Connor.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was Connor. We all thought it was Brian.
But very naughty, wasn't he? In Coronation.
So was he the one who was with Eileen Grimshaw?
Yes.
Connor McIntyre.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He killed a lot of people.
Yeah,
he did.
I think he was the worst one. But he's so charming, and it was such a good thing, you know, to have these soaps. So perhaps, you know, you can have. There are so many people around who've left the soaps, so it'd be really nice to get them all together again and just have a chat, because you can, you know, especially people are so interested, aren't they, in you know, the older stars. This is why Derek Nimmo used to be so successful, because people used to do his tours, but they weren't sort of like current on TV now, but they were current about 15, 20 years ago. So the public, you know, in Hong Kong and all of those places were still watching those shows. So they, you know, they went down really well.
Nostalgia's really good, isn't it? Retro.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, when we do the Sweeney and Minder, it's people that come along that are it's mostly men, and they're in their 50s upwards. But when we do our Bill reunions, it's all ages, all genders. And that's, I think, because the Bill is being streamed every day. It's out there on the drama channel. And they're so nice. I always say the horror fans and the Bill fans are the best fans. They are all polite. They queue up to meet them afterwards, and they're in awe. Yeah, the Bill is just been brilliant.
Yeah, I did the Bill twice, actually. One, I was a dental nurse, and the next one, I was living on a council estate, and my son was really naughty. You know, he did lots of naughty things. And I remember saying in the scene, something to him, and he went, "What rattled your cage then?" And my daughter thought it was hilarious. My daughter was about 8 at the time, and she kept saying that to me over and over. She still says it. What rattled your cage?
Can we give you a plug for your next gig?
So we're on our holidays now, but we are busy beavering away, working on our next stuff. We're in pre-production of 2 films, and that's what we're working on. But our next gig is at the Phoenix, is Tony Slattery, and I think it's the 12th of October. And then but before that, we're going up north. We're taking Graham Cole up to Leeds, because everyone says, "Oh, we can't get to London. Why don't you do things up north and that?" And so we've always said, if you can find us a venue, we'll come. We don't mind touring. And so we're taking him up with his one-man show, So You Think You Know Me, with Graham Cole, because everyone seems to only think of him as Tony Stamp from the Bill, but he did a hell of a lot more than that. So we're doing that at the Hi-Fi Club in Leeds on the 26th of September. I've just announced that just before I came on here.
Wow.
So that's all good. That's all good. And I'd love you ladies to come. So we've been at the Phoenix Arts Club now for 10 years this year, and they're going to hold a gala party for us on the 25th of November. Put this in your diaries. They're going to unveil a plaque to Misty Moon, and they're also going to do a Misty Moon cocktail that will always be on sale in the Phoenix. You must come down. You'll love it.
We will.
Thank you.
But we accept every invitation. We go to the opening of an envelope.
We do.
That's what I like to hear.
Thanks, Stuart. It's so lovely to meet you. I'm seeing you soon.
And you too.
Yes, the 2nd of July we'll be meeting.
Thank you again.
See you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.